So, as an incoming legislator, what prospects do you think that young people can expect from a person like you who is between two generations and is hoping to make some change in a way that is liberal enough to appeal to young people, but also conservative enough to appeal to older people in your constituency?
Thank you very much. So to start with, yes, you're correct that I'm not exactly a young person in that sense, maybe relatively young at 42. But you're also correct about the fact that I see myself as being at that intergenerational nexus, like just in the middle of the older ones and then younger folks. And for me, it's an opportunity, right, to do right by the people, to perform and do well in office, which would also give the establishment the confidence to give more young people the opportunity to aspire to public office. But beyond that, there is the legitimacy that comes from the people, because no matter how much your leaders support you, now you know that the political process is very sophisticated. People are very intelligent about what they want. There is a role that parties play, but it's more about the personalities of people. So they can give you a platform, they can do all of that, but you still have to go through the process of engaging the populace and sharing your ideas and selling yourself to them. So that is what I had to go through personally, and it was a very interesting process because it gives you the opportunity to engage with the people, know what their pains are. It gives you the opportunity to have that pack to the people, and it sort of assures that you can be held accountable to a certain set of promises that you've made. So for me, yes, I had a whole website, akinrotimi.com. I had all sorts of materials and all of that, but all of that had to be translated down to the grassroots. You had to break it down. You had to break down your ideas, your thoughts, and what you thought you could do better to people at the grassroots. That way, you spend more time understanding that it's not about a top-bottom approach. It's really about the bottom-top, and that's why we always miss it when we assume that we know what it is that the people want, rather than giving the opportunity for people to share their pains and tell you what exactly are their priorities.
We have gone through your concept note, and from what you've just mentioned, you are a very staunch advocate of leaving the door open and ensuring that other people are able to come in. Do you, over time, as you've mentioned, as you've inflected on in your concept note, what plans specifically can you speak to now, or can you, in abstract terms, talk about regarding how you intend to leave the door open for young people, especially in your constituency?
So to start with, my whole election campaign was powered by young people largely. Young people were the ones that first of all even believed in it, and it was based on the confidence that people saw that young people were pushing that, they want to stay with this person. Yes, we had a lot of older people that came in early, but it was essentially young people. And my whole campaign was driven by the energies of the young people. So you would also find that my constituency office, by the grace of God, and also my office here in Abuja, would also be driven by young people, to show that they also not only have the power to follow through the political process, but also to ensure that they are part of the process of ensuring that the person performs in office, because I'm holding this mandate for all of them in that sense. So it's giving more young people the opportunity, to express themselves, right?
Do you intend to create a platform, maybe a leadership academy or a community outreach project, to ensure that young people are able to express themselves, if not to anybody else, to you as the representative?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, so one of the things that we have 6 focal points that we're trying to work on, both in terms of our development strategy and also our legislative agenda, and it's around health, education, human capital development, security, infrastructure, and social protection. So essentially, under education, we want to make sure that we work with other stakeholders to make sure that the quality of education is a lot more is improved upon. So there are a lot of interventions in terms of the schools, public schools, that we want to be able to ensure that students also have opportunities for leadership training, for civics education, and to start identifying leaders. I talked about leadership recruitment earlier, and start putting them along that path, to public service in the future. And then you can't do anything if people are not healthy, So essentially, the health agenda is also to make sure that we're able to help people, young people, for example, teenage and sexual and reproductive health issues, to make sure that there are fewer cases of female children, girls staying out of school because they're under periods and don't have access to sanitary towels and things like that, through our Pad Bank initiative, which we would launch, and so many other things like that, ensuring that you have a healthy workforce. And then aside of that, social protection, to make sure that we leave nobody behind in all that we're doing, make sure that people with disabilities and people with all sorts of challenges are also mainstreamed in all of what we're doing. But essentially, it's ensuring that at the center of all that we're doing are the young people, right? Because they are the majority, and it only does make sense that they are the center of, the bulk of all our investments. Because essentially, what we'll do is not only safeguarding our future, but also ensuring that in the present time you are putting people to work, you're reducing issues of insecurity, cybercrime, and all those issues by helping people to be gainfully employed and to acquire skills to actually stand on their own and not have to have that dependence on political elites that you find and all that, thuggery and all those things that are associated with politics and governance. So people like that don't do that because they want to, but because they don't have any options. So, it's my duty, it's my mandate to ensure that we give young people the opportunities to express themselves and live their full and productive lives in every ramification.
All right. Thank you very much. We are moving towards the end now. So I have a two-pronged question for you. So the first one is, assuming that you are talking to all the old people in your constituency in the language that they understand, what level of reassurance can you give them today that they can go back to in 6 months, in 1 year from now, and you are so certain that you'll be able to uphold your part of the bargain? And what would you say to young people that they can hold on to, and in 2 years, by the end of your tenure, they can hold on to and say, yes, he promised this, he did this? What things can you promise the young and the old, like vice versa?
Well, thank you. So the central philosophy of my entire campaign was hinged on leaving no one behind. So that's one thing that I'm going to, first of all, assure them, that we're going to start by concentrating on the most vulnerable in terms of our development agenda. I talked about the development agenda as well as the legislative agenda. So in terms of development agenda, we would work with all stakeholders very aggressively to attract as much development as possible, with a concentration on the most vulnerable, right? Those that have been left behind, those that are falling through the cracks. So the disabled, the elderly, the widows, and other vulnerable segments. We want to be able to ensure that they are prioritized in all that we're doing. So they're very sure of that. Now, I'd also want to assure them that I'm going to be as visible as possible back home to ensure that I keep the conversations ongoing. You understand what I'm saying? To make sure that I keep them abreast of the issues, because that's a problem that they've always had. That, we never see these guys and we never see representatives until it's time for another electoral cycle and they're coming around. I'm going to be very different. I'm going to ensure that I keep in touch with the people and follow through with periodic engagements with our leaders, because I recognize as well that you need the hand-holding and the guidance of our leaders. You understand what I'm saying? There's this Yoruba saying that "Kosi bi o se ma ni aṣọ to tí o ma ní àkísà bí àgbàlagbà." That means that no matter the amount of new clothes you have, you can't have as much rags or worn-out clothes as the elders. There is a lot of guidance that we can get from our elderly ones, from our traditional rulers, from and other people, other stakeholders, who are also invested in seeing us be able to succeed. And to the young people as well, for me, I just think that there's a lot of reorientation that's required. I think that's been identified and established as a major issue. There's a lot of reorientation that is required for people to have a new thinking about politics and development, and to move away from tokenism and short-termism, right? And it's not just about now, now, now. It's about holding leaders accountable. It's about thinking about the long term. It's about ensuring that we don't pressure leaders into doing what's inappropriate because they're trying to live up to expectations, to always, dole out the tokens without actually carrying out fundamental change that really makes a difference in the lives of people sustainably. So for me, I believe that they're a critical stakeholder in this entire project, and I want to be able to see more young people through our structure be able to aspire to greater positions in the future because of the opportunities that we'll have given them to be visible and also to be able to contribute to development and also be able to write their own story of what they have also been able to be a part of in terms of politics and development.